everyone. I'm Efren. Welcome to my new show. Today, we have a pro wrestling personality and producer. You have seen him on AEW, GCW, and ACW. He is the host of So Says Shernoff and the Wrestling Hour. Please welcome Josh Shernoff. Josh, welcome to the question mark.
Thank you for having me, Efren. Man, you hit that note in your name. There was no break or anything. That was perfect. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Josh, although we are very near and dear, close personal, longtime friends, it seems for all the times we've been together, I don't know you very well. And the wrestling fans don't know you very well. And so, through extensive audience research, in independent lab testing, and randomly calling houses we don't know at 11 p.m. on alternate Wednesdays, we have come up with a list of 20-ish questions that if you answer honestly, will have us wrestling fans marking out. Marking out like a AEW pay-per-view in May 2025. Oh. Are you prepared to have us wrestling fans mark out on you?
I am prepared. Mark out all over me.
I am the mark. Here are the questions. It's time for the question mark. Josh Shernoff, you're hosting a pay-per-view PLE party at your house. What's the one food or drink you are making for everyone to enjoy?
Oh man, I'm making nothing, but I'm purchasing stuff, I'm sure. And I think honestly, the easy one is pizza, right? That's usually when I would get together with my buddies and stuff. We would make sure that we would order a pizza because that's the easiest thing. I had my friend Manny would always bring like a giant thing of peanut M&Ms, and so people would have different things. I have my friend Matt Steffen, a shout out to him because he's hosted some really good PLE parties in the past, and he will have like a spread of just like anything you can want. You have a cheese platter, you have fruit, you have like it's anything you could possibly want. And me, I'm just like, hey guys, I'm gonna pick up a couple of pizzas. Is that cool?
What do you like on your pizza?
Oh man, I'm kind of just like a plain guy, or I'm one of those
plain pizza.
I love pineapple on a pizza, and some people are, oh, you can't, dude. It's just it's delicious. It's delicious. So come on, yeah. But yeah, just a plain pizza. That's it, because the other stuff just gets in the way. I just want to eat the pizza. You know, it's the cheese, it's the sauce. That's all you need. So I used to love pepperoni too.
But no, you do?
I used to. I haven't eaten pepperoni in I feel like 10 years, but I used to.
You'll put pineapple on a pizza, but no pepperoni.
Yeah. Oh, but pineapple and pepperoni could be fun.
Earliest wrestling memory.
Oh man, earliest wrestling memory my earliest memory, I'm not one of those people who has the, I remember sitting down and the first time I turned on the TV and there's Chief Jay Strongbow. I think that's Triple H's story, but I remember, I do have some clear memories of, I remember the Viking, and then I remember getting really excited that there was going to be a debut of the Berserker, and then finding out that it was just the Viking, but they changed his name like a week later and acted as though it was a new debut. So I remember that. I think that was primetime wrestling. I have some early memories of I feel like every WCW Saturday night used to end with the entire locker room running into the ring. Maybe that happened once and I've just kind of extrapolated it in my head, but I do know the first pay-per-view that I watched live-ish was SummerSlam 1990, because my dad worked with my half brother, and my half brother had he had the cable box, so he got it. It was on a Monday. He got it and recorded it, gave it to my dad Tuesday at work. My brother and I watched it Tuesday night. So I remember that. So that was like the closest to um, like watching the first one live. But prior to that, it was all. So I would say something around like 89. Like I've got little memories here and there, like the Royal Rumble, like the run through of who's going to be in the Rumble, you know, with like the brick background and stuff. So I don't have that like one moment though. I wish I did. I wish I had that one moment, but yeah, no, that's all I got for you.
You can be front row at any event in wrestling history. Which event is it?
Oh man. Um, I feel like it needs to be something like really my first instinct I wanted to say WrestleMania 13 because of the Brett and Austin match, which is like one of my favorite matches of all time. But part of what made that so cool was they went around the arena. They were different parts outside of the ring. So the question is like, where do I want to be? Do I want to be the guy that gets blood on him, like that front row, right? Like right behind the announcers?
Do
Do I,
you?
so it depends on where I want to be at that time. Otherwise, I think you know what we'll go with that tied with uh, the SummerSlam 1990 that I mentioned because on that Tuesday when I watched it and they said we are live from the Philadelphia Spectrum, that was when I found out that it was in Philadelphia, and I was pissed because I get I was a kid, I wasn't paying any attention to this, like to where the location was. But at that moment, I'm like, wait a minute. So this was here yesterday? And like, so I was, man, I was pretty furious. So maybe I'd want to be front row there. I would have helped Shawn Michaels, when Power and Glory took out his knee,
Right.
he couldn't get into the ring. I would have maybe helped him up or something, some encouragement in his ear. But now we're gonna go with WrestleMania. We'll go with man, nobody wants to watch me sit here and think about every single wrestling show, but man, front row. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna go with that. I would have liked to have been right there where Stone Cold hit the guardrail right behind the announcers at that part. That would have been pretty cool.
You get blood on your on the little Shernoff that you are. Do your parents flip out or do they think it's cool?
Um, I think it's a happy medium. I don't think they would have thought it was cool. I think they would have been like, they wouldn't have flipped out. My mom probably would be like, "Oh my God, wash your hands. Make sure you wash your hands. We should throw this shirt away." Um, but and my dad probably would have just been like, "Well, you want to be this close, you know?" So I don't know that anyone would have thought it was cool, but I think it would have been somewhere in that realm.
Hogan or Flair?
Oh man, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Flair, but I grew up a WWF kid, so I knew Flair from the after mags, but and then I would watch WCW a little, Saturday night and stuff like that. But I really knew Flair when he came in, as the real world's champion. Um, but overall, based on, uh, I'm trying to not say this based on personal, personality and stuff, because I will say Hulk Hogan has always been very uh, kind to me in any interactions I've had with him. But so has Ric Flair. So I can't, but I'm going to go with Ric Flair. Rick has a special place in my heart getting to work on his last match. And, I have somewhere behind me. I don't know if you can see it. I'm blocking it. One of those is the tie that he signed that I wore his last match. So I'm going to go with Flair for I think a lot of reasons. Because I was just never a Hogan guy. So,
Flair or Sting?
I'm gonna go with Sting because Crow Sting, when he became the Crow, like I even dressed as him for Halloween that year. Like that was the coolest. To me as a kid, nothing was cooler at that time than Crow Sting. So I'm gonna go with Sting.
Were you the coolest costume that year?
Uh,
Did the
Probably,
adults
yeah.
mark out on you when they saw who you were?
No, I don't know that any adults knew. Like I wore it to school, like we had like a school Halloween parade type thing. And I just walked around with my baseball bat and like I didn't say anything. So a lot of like even some of the kids weren't entirely sure it was me at first because I had a long wig and it was awesome. It was a really cool costume. But yeah, no, I don't think any of the adults had any idea what was going on. But it was fun.
What's the one piece of wrestling memorabilia that your wife wants you to get rid of out of the house?
Oh man, I'm sure she could just close her eyes and point behind me. Um, um, you know what? So nothing that I have in the house is anywhere but in my office. I don't have any wrestling stuff anywhere but in my office, which is why it looks like my wrestling fandom has thrown up behind me. And fun fact, all the wrestling stuff is all on like that wall and like the surrounding, like this part that's in front of me in my office is no wrestling stuff at all. So, but I have, so, okay, I have one. I have a giant piece of table from that is currently not in my house because it was like, where are you going to put this? And I had pitched the idea of hanging it on the wall in my basement, like where the kids play, and that was vetoed. So I ended up having to just put it into a storage unit. But it is the giant triangular piece of table from the Rob Van Dam Jerry Lynn match, Hardcore Heaven '99 at the Mid Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie, New York. After the show, Van Dam gave me that table.
Nice.
And then many, many years later, at a WrestleCon, I got after I had worked with Van Dam and gotten to become friends with Jerry Lynn. Jerry Lynn actually got Van Dam to sign it for free, and I didn't have to wait in line, so that was great. And I have a nice picture of me and Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam, and they signed the table. So it was like maybe like 20 years later, I feel like, but that was really awesome. But
How big is it?
it's big. If you go back and watch that show, part of what's so cool about which piece of the table he gave me after is when they were cleaning up after the show. Because I guess they push it all under the ring, after the match, and then they were cleaning up, and he grabbed it and brought it back and gave it to me. It is the piece that when Jerry Lynn power bombs him off the apron to the outside through the table, the piece lands on Van Dam's face, and actually cut him. But it's this triangular piece of table. So it's pretty like if I held it up in front of me, it would go out of frame here. It's a giant piece of table. So that is one that if I were still keeping it in the house, my wife would be like, listen, this is taking up way too much space. Um she wouldn't care if it was in my office, but it would take up too much space in my office. So a fun fact for you though, it's tough to see there. I actually have a piece of the Wrestling Showcase stage right down there where my thumb is. Um, but behind that, I think you can kind of see behind it is another little piece of table. And that is a piece of table that is signed by Danny Moff, Sean Donovan, Vic Delicious, and Hale Collins, of the Now and Sent to Slaughter. That was a tables match at the Mid Hudson Civic Center, now the MJN Center, from this past January, where I managed Sent to Slaughter. Danny Moff was put through the table, and I saw this piece of table break, and I grabbed it and went over like I was yelling at Dave Sturchio at commentary and threw it under the table. And afterwards asked them if they would sign it because that was the same building that 26 years earlier Van Damme had given me the piece of table, and now here I was in a tables match working at that same venue. So I have that, and that's, a little thing for me.
Best moment in your wrestling fandom?
Best moment in my wrestling fandom. I think about my fandom a lot when I'm on the My Fandom app at myfandomapp.com. I see, I can plug it. I can get in there. The best moment in my fandom.
My light went off. Let me plug it in like you just plugged yours. There we go. Thank you.
I won't count that the Hardcore Heaven 99 because technically that was my first night working in the business. I was carrying Bill Apter's bags into the building, and I was front row there. Tommy Dreamer whips Lance Storm into me pretty much. And unlike the woman at WrestleMania in front row, I didn't, cry about it. But I wasn't even front row. I had my little press pass. So like I wasn't sitting. I was just standing there. So that doesn't count. So from a fandom standpoint, and this is going to sound really cheesy, it was Raw in 2024 taking my kids to their first WWE show, their first wrestling show. That going as a fan with my kids beat any experience I ever had on my own as a kid or or an adult watching it. So, but if I had to have one other than that, it would probably be kind of like, I guess it's weird why it was, but it was the Raw where Kevin Nash tore his quad. And after the show, like me and my friends just hung out watching afterwards, when they were breaking down the ring and all that. And Dustin Rhodes walked out and we started chatting with him, and he was like telling us how Nash was doing. And like, so, and it was just, that was a really cool moment too. But again, it was like a behind the scenes thing, but I'm going to go with my watching my kids watch wrestling. It's a highlight for me.
Greatest autograph, wrestling or non-wrestling, you have in your collection?
That is an easy one. You can't really see it, I don't think, hanging on the wall, but there's actually 3 of them now. So one of them, you can't see the autograph, but it's right there. And I have 2 other ones that all from the same time. And it's, I just got them at Squared Circle Expo. Ed Gonzalez, who runs Squared Circle Expo, was amazing and brought them to me while I was working one of the stage shows. I brought those figures to Indianapolis, and he brought them to Bret Hart, who signed them. And these are figures that I got from when I was a kid. I had it in my mind that Bret Hart was going to sign these figures. I was get all of these figures signed, and I picked out which ones I wanted to get signed. So I got duplicates, right? Some that I could open up and have, and then others that I could keep, and I was going to get them signed. And the funny thing is, they're the only ones that I ever got signed, are the ones that I just got signed like a month ago by Bret Hart. But having that and having them on display is just, that's awesome. So I would say those are my favorite ones.
You're entering the restaurant in heaven, Josh, and your favorite wrestler, who's no longer with us, is sitting alone but wanting company. Who is it, and what would you talk about?
Someone who is currently, as we record this, no longer with us. Owen Hart, 100%. And what we would talk about, it's funny. I met Owen Hart one time, and what I remember most from that was after taking the picture with him, and I remember him and my dad was not a wrestling fan, him and my dad talking. not about wrestling. Just like, I think they may have been we were in Philly. They may have been talking about, it could have been anything. Could have been a local restaurant. Could have been, whatever the case was. And just having like a regular conversation. And I feel like if I could sit down with him, I would want to have, I would be so interested in getting an opportunity to know the human being, because all we've heard since he passed was what an incredible person he was. Um, as a wrestler, like, I got it. I know how good he was as a wrestler, and we've heard these the great rib stories and stuff. We've heard all those things. So I feel like for me, I would want to sit down and like just get to know the human being that we've heard so much about from so many people, of how, man, if you knew Owen, he was the best. And I believe everything that anyone has ever said about him. So I think for me, I would be more interested in getting to know him.
How did you get to meet him?
Bill Apter it was my dad took me and my friend Doug it was Super Bowl Sunday. It was a matinee show in Philly. I want to say, I guess it was 98. So it was right before, I guess that would have been before WrestleMania 14. And I remember Owen wore his Slammy award winning singlet, which he had not, obviously, since 97, since November of 97. He hadn't worn that look. But I remember he came out at the house show. He was wearing that. And Bill Apter brought us backstage afterwards. He got us comp tickets and brought us backstage at this house show. And I got to go over the guardrail after the show. And I went, and it was just like going over the guardrail. I was like, don't touch anything. So of course I went and I grabbed that bottom rope, because I'm like, I gotta, I have to know what this feels like. And we got to walk back through the aisleway. And it's not like, if anyone is only familiar with current like house shows, they've got the big LED screen even for the house show and all. This was literally, it was a curtain. There wasn't a logo. There wasn't anything. It was just curtain. We went backstage, and the first person I met was Steve Austin. And Bill introduced him. He goes, these are, close friends of mine. And I will never forget Steve Austin putting out his hand going, "Hi, I'm Steve." And meanwhile, he is drenched in beer from just having a beer bash out in front of all. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I know. I know who you are, but it was so cool. And then Bill went like looking to see who else he could grab, and he got Owen and met him there. So that was awesome.
That's a great story, Josh.
Yeah. And I finally got to tell that story to Martha Hart. It was the first show, whatever, I guess it was Double or Nothing, was the finals, the first time they did the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. And I met her, and I'm telling her this story, and maybe one day video of me telling her this story will come out, because she had cameras following her. There was some sort of documentary or something going on. And I'm telling her the story, just like I told you about, Owen and my dad talking, and like, and how awesome Owen was to me, and meeting me in that, and the lasting impression it made on me. And I showed her the picture of me and him from that night that I have on my phone, and she like loved it. And she called over, I forget who was with her, but she called them over to show them the picture and all that. And then I notice there's a boom mic hanging down, like when I like look over. And so someone was filming this entire interaction. So I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day, but so it has been filmed of me getting to show Dr. Martha Hart that picture with him.
That's awesome. Josh, what
Yes.
one wrestler in history do you think smelled the best?
Huh. That's a great question. You know who I'm gonna go with? I'm gonna go with The Rock. I just feel like he was probably always. Now, look, his style may not have been what today we'd consider the best, with the turtleneck and the chain and all, but he was always rocking some sort of style, right? Even if it was his own. So I just, in my mind, that dude was always, there was always some sort of cologne, always some sort of lotion, something that was making him smell good. That's him. And to this day, I can't imagine you meet The Rock and you go, he doesn't smell great. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like if you had to put money down and you're about to walk into the locker room and you're going to go, who is definitely going to smell good? I feel like it's got to be The Rock. That's just me.
What one wrestler in history do you think smelled the worst?
I think in the ring, it's been well established that Vader was
It has been well established. But if you didn't smell him, who do you think?
If I had, yeah. It's funny. As a kid, I probably would have said like Skinner or someone who like looked. You know what I mean? Like it probably would have like thought they've got to smell terrible. But poor Steve Kern, I'm sure smells amazing, but it was like anyone with that like appearance, who was kind of like, I feel like probably would have smelled. And back then, like they didn't have, like now we all have, including myself, Mad Cat beard care. But everybody's got the nice beard oils and everyone's got a good scent. I feel like back then, if you had that big Bastion Booger, I don't think probably smelled great. Yokozuna, God rest his soul, I have to imagine wasn't, the best smelling, just between, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, when he's eating, turkey butt and like whatever, like, I don't know. I'm just feeling like those are some, but yeah.
Great. Josh, favorite wrestling movie or movie with a wrestler?
Legit favorite movie, I think, would be The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. I think was sadly for the time very real, a very real depiction. But as a kid, it was no holds barred. I mean, so that would be my answer there.
Faces or heels?
Oh, heels, all day, every day. Heels. Are you, like, watching as a fan a good heel that believes that he's justified? Which is super important as a heel. I don't like the I'm a bad guy heel. That doesn't do it for me. They have to have a legitimate reason for why they do what they do. If you look at Drew McIntyre and everything he's done in the last couple of years as a heel, it has been, in my mind, it's been perfect. Because Kevin Owens was another one that with what he's been doing, up until his injury, like when they would explain their actions, you'd have to sit back and be like, huh, all right, yeah, that's kind of tough to argue. All right, even if you're like, oh, they're the bad guy, but so it always has to be, and I try my best to do that in my work when I'm, I think I can justify everything I do, but I also don't think I'm a heel. I think I'm just misunderstood. So yeah.
Greatest wrestling theme ever?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I have like a bunch of different ones that I want to name for all different reasons. So I'm not sure. Like, obviously, Hart Foundation or Bret Hart's theme before they bastardized it when he came back, with all like the extra drums. That's stupid. But so I love that one. But Demolition was always just such an amazing theme. You know what okay, Shawn Michaels, and here's why. Stands the test of time. That music hits right now, and 60-year-old Shawn Michaels comes out to the ring. and you're still like, yep, I don't care that he's literally on there singing, I'm just a sexy boy. And here he is, like it worked when he first debuted it. It worked as in 96 as a uber baby face celebrating and dancing. It worked as an angry 97 heel. It worked in his comeback when he's, praising God and all that. Like, it's still somehow that theme has transcended whatever the lunacy of what that theme actually is, of the lyrics, right? Like it's and now the fact that like Jimmy Hart has let everybody know that it's him singing the falsetto sexy boy, like it's just I think that's the best one. Modern day ones, you've got Randy Orton's theme is phenomenal. Cody, you can't really question, that's so good today. My son has made me listen to Jey Uso's theme so much, and that's actually pretty catchy. But yeah, I think Shawn Michaels has got to be best theme of all time.
Josh, what AEW event am I thinking of?
I think you're still thinking of the one you were just at, Double or Nothing.
No.
Okay.
Next, you can watch only one person wrestle. You can only watch only one person wrestle for the rest of your life. It's not the same match, but the wrestler is in every match you watch. Who is it?
And this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt to say, because my favorite of all time is Bret Hart. My absolute favorite wrestler of all time. But 96 to 98, I mean, there wasn't very much in 98, obviously, but 96 to 98, Shawn Michaels, I could watch any match he had, because he just, that time period, specifically. But I just feel like Shawn Michaels in general, yeah, if I'm being honest, if I had to really, really choose, I still am a bigger Bret Hart fan, but I just feel like the style of matches, if that's all I could watch, although Bret, that's tough.
If you could only watch one match for the rest of your life, which would it be?
Oh God. One. Okay. So there you go then. One match for the rest of my life. I feel like it would have to be Bret and Austin, from Mania 13. So I guess maybe that by default means Bret Hart is the answer. But I guess if it's a bunch of matches and the same guy, it would be Shawn Michaels. But one match would be Bret and Austin.
Josh, breakfast buffet, heaven or hell?
I think it depends on the breakfast buffet. I've experienced atrocious breakfast buffets, where you show up and it's like, here's like a piece of bread and there's like Fruit Loops in a little like dispenser, and like there's an apple, like a waxy apple. But then I've also been at ones where it's just a spread of anything you could want, and you've got good eggs, not the eggs that are like I know there's cheese in here, but I'm not even sure it's real cheese. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, I think it really depends. A good breakfast buffet, removing just everything we learned since COVID of how gross people are and how airborne illness is, because buffets are kind of a little less exciting these days, I think, post COVID. But man, I'd say I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. My favorite charity, I would say, is anything related to cancer research, specifically for children. any charity with children, but also, you know, I think like most of us, unfortunately, in the world, you know, we've all lost family members and friends, um, and unfortunately, even at, you know, I like to still, you know, pretend I'm young, but in this case, I am way too young to have lost as many uh, people my age to cancer as I have. So I would say cancer research, because that really needs to go away. And I think we should all be on the same page, that cancer should go away. But yeah, so I would say that.
Bravo. Josh, name a job in wrestling that you haven't had that you think you'd be really, really good at.
Um, I've done a lot, but as far as a job that I haven't had like an actual like I'm paid to do this, uh, I think creative. And I know everybody thinks that, um, but I've been able to assist in booking enough moments and matches and helping to tweak different moments and stories. And I've had the opportunity to on the fly have, oh, so and so didn't show up, and it's left up to me to figure out how to completely rebook a main event of a show. And I think, in my humble opinion, that it's a talent that I actually have. I think I'm good at it. Um, so I would love to have a legitimate job in creative or as a producer, um, for a you know a consistent television company, because I think the way my mind works with stories is far more long term. Like I love the intricate aspects of stories. So I think I would love to be able to work on something that was weekly episodic as opposed to, you know, once every 2 months or something like that. Cause I think it's very different booking. And you know, the doing weekly episodic versus doing big shows. Not that one is easier than the other, but I
Right.
think they're very different. So yeah, I'd like to be I'd like to have a job and opportunity on creative somewhere.
Is there anyone you haven't met in wrestling that you would like to meet?
Uh Shawn Michaels.
What would
I
you
have
say to
not met Shawn Michaels.
what would you say to him?
Um Other than, hey, tell me about your signature. Um but if you know, you know. But I would, if I say to him, or like if I was able to, like if you're just like, hey, you can sit down and pick his brain, and you know,
It'd be a first meeting. Hey,
um, I'd say, hey, I'm a huge fan of your work. I mean, that would be my honest first thing to say is I'm a huge fan of the body of work that you had and continue to have, at this point through others. So, um, yeah, I think I'd say that. But otherwise, if I could deep dive with him, I would just be asking all about uh his heel work, and just, you know, in the ring, not on the mic, but like how he managed to work as a heel and as a baby face as the smaller guy, um but always like, I guess it wouldn't just be heel work. I guess I'd be asking both ends of it, but like how he was able to always kind of keep the same move set and do the same things, um, but be able to play those different roles. Um, and I'd be curious his experiences on being the small, from, you know, obviously being a small guy when I was wrestling, um, you know, just what his experiences were with that. But yeah, I think I'd ask him that.
name another wrestling personality you would like to see answer these questions, Josh.
Uh, I want to hear Matt Cardona. answer these
Really?
questions. Because I think when Matt, he was just on Chris Van Vliet, and I think Matt is somebody that you can learn so much from. I have tried to pattern so much of my mindset uh, in the industry off of the things that he has either told me directly or I've heard him say in interviews or whatnot. And yeah, I would love to hear what he has to say. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. But I would say um, Matt Cardona is one that I would love to hear more of his story. But you know who else I would like to hear? Um, our personal friend Jeff Jarrett. I would like to hear Jeff Jarrett answer some of these questions because I think coming from somebody who is a third generation in this business, very different uh, answers, right? Like I think that that's kind of what's really cool about your show too. Is you're not going to get. We all have a different story. Nobody, with the exception of maybe people like to get pizza at when they're watching wrestling. Like no one's going to have those same answers as me. So I'd like to hear a guy like Cardona who's in the thick of it right now, who's a first generation star, who's been to WWE, and has all the experience in the indies. And I would love to hear from a guy like Jeff Jarrett, who his stuff goes so far back into the territories and growing up in the business. So, I can make some calls.
Final question. Describe the rest of your life using a wrestling phrase.
Huh. Okay. The cocky part of me wants to say best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to take another Bret Hart thing that I'm going to paraphrase because I'm not going to get it completely right. But it was what he said when he won the world title. And he said that something like this is to show that even the biggest dreams can still come true. And I think that for the rest of my life, I want to be able to continue to do things that other people, my kids specifically, can look up to me and say, like, okay, yeah, he proved that these ridiculous, crazy ideas of what he could do with his life. That there aren't dreams that are too big, and just work hard and you'd be surprised what can happen.
That is how you end all our questions, and that's how we mark out. Josh Shernoff, please tell us where we can find you, what you have coming up, and anything else you'd like to promote and share.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on here, Efren. This was awesome. And I can be found on all social media at So Says Shernoff across the board. You will be able to find me in person. One that I know for sure, July is going to be a busy one for me. I've got, man, I want to get the dates right, but I probably won't. So I'm just going to bring up my calendar so I can actually see. But I'm going to be at Fight Factory Wrestling War on the Shore 2, July 15th, when I manage Danny Moff to become the new NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. And then a couple days later, I'll be managing Danny Moff and Sean Donovan Sent to Slaughter on July 18th back at the MJN Center in Poughkeepsie, New York for Fallout, where we continue our reign as the longest reigning ACW World Tag Team Champions, also the first and only. So I will be doing that. I'll be managing at all of those shows, doing commentary. And then, man, yeah, I don't know where else I'm going to be, but I know I've got some other things coming up too, which is exciting. But yeah, just check out my social media. If you want to go on my Instagram, which again, at So Says Shernoff, I post a lot of different promos and things like that because Listen, that's the beauty of today, right? You can post all your stuff online. You don't have to be a part of a weekly episodic TV show to be able to tell a story and let people know who you are and create mystique around a character. So that's what I'll be doing. So yeah, please come on by and check out, if you haven't, the My Fandom app at myfandomapp.com. It's an awesome app where you can add all of your photos. You can check into live events. It's updated daily on what events there are to check into. Everything from ACW to GCW to AEW to WWE, Impact Wrestling, TNA, I guess it is again now. But we have the old Impact stuff on there too. So yeah, but that's it. That's where you can find me.
And we would like to hear your feedback on today's show using the hashtag, Josh Shernoff, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, sir.
And wrestling fans, be on the lookout. We are looking for Matt Cardona and Jeff Jarrett. Matt and Jeff, you are wanted for questioning by the marks. On the question mark, I'm Efren at Efren Blackjack. For producers and artists, JD Hoop and Josh Shernoff, I will see you next time on the question mark. Bye-bye.